Today, we get grim with that man. Batman. Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave and this is Toypixx and, well, you know the drill. This is all about helping you and helping me get a whole lot better at our action figure photography, so if you dig that, go ahead and click subscribe while I describe what's going on here. Basically, I've got a Batman picture set up, and I'm gonna shoot it, and I'm gonna edit it in Photoshop so you all see what I do to give the Dark Knight a dark, grim, and gritty look in the photos I shoot. So, let's talk about that setup, then we'll jump into Photoshop. See you in a minute. Here is the setup. We have an Extreme Sets Asylum background diorama type deal here. We have a nice little purple Joker barrel I found on Etsy. We have other stuff that was found on Etsy, stuff from eBay. We even have this crazy little pop because I just thought it looked hilarious for a Joker setup. And of course, Mafex Batman, and we have Newer lights. We're covered up there with paper just as a bit of a diffuser. We have another one up above that is shining through that diffuser down to kind of these jail-looking deals going on with the Asylum setup. This is highly professional by saying things like jail deals. And that's pretty much it. We've got the Newer lights, we've got the reflector setup, we've got a little paper, some diffusion going on, and the picture is all set up. So I'm going to shoot it. And then the next time you see me, I'm going to have it in Photoshop fully edited, and then I'll reverse engineer what I did because, well, I just play, so if I just showed you step by step, I wouldn't get quite the results that I think I'd be after. So, let's get to it. Alright everybody, here we go. We're going to go from this to that. And I'm just going to show you what I did to get there. So, let's first do this. Let's hide all those adjustment layers. Okay, first things first. When it comes to the look on things like this, I like to go a little movie, which means the darker areas usually go a little more cyan, and the lighter areas usually go a little more orange. So I did just a little tiny bit of that with the curves layer. Now remember, this was an adjustment layer, which means that it won't affect the layer below it, which is good, because if you make a mistake in an adjustment layer, all you have to do is make some slight adjustments to the sliders and all that stuff. If you make a mistake on the layer itself, you have to go back and back and back to before you made the mistake, and possibly get rid of a whole lot of changes you made beforehand that you actually liked. So that's why adjustment layers are such a big deal. So you can see there, I just went in the red channel, added just a touch of red and just a touch of cyan. Let me show you here real quick what I would do for this. And then I'll just reverse it. So, what I do, I click in here, I have that selected, and I would find a light spot on the image, not totally white, because if you do that, you're going to be hosed, it won't work. So then I hold down Alt, I left click on the mouse, and I push up. And you can see the lighter areas are getting a little redder. So that's what you do in here. Now obviously I already did it, so I decided to back out. But I wanted to show you what was going on there. Now I added another curves layer, similar stuff, just adding a little more cyan. The thing is, I really like the adjustments in the first curves layer. So that's what I've done so far. I've given it a little more of that cinematic look. Next up, I went with brightness and contrast, and the reason I did the brightness and contrast was because I wanted there to be less contrast. When you're trying to make things look a little grim and gloomy and all that stuff, you don't want there to be tons of contrast. If you look at a lot of horror images, you can see there's not a whole lot. So I dialed down the contrast, and I dialed down the brightness quite a bit. Now, the adjustments are just going to depend on your photos, but as you can see here, I took down the brightness by 30 and the contrast by 30. So if you're playing with one of your photos, there's the numbers I used. And now exposure, I dialed that back a little bit. I went down just a little in the normal exposure, and I went a little higher in gamma correction. Now when you go down on exposure, you make it darker, and when you go up on it, you make it lighter. So there's that. The gamma correction, when you go up like that, you can see the whole thing. It's almost like adding a black filter over it. But if you go the other way, it's like adding a white filter over it. So there you go there. That was, again, just to make it a little bit darker. And then I went to the hue and saturation, and I lowered the hue and the saturation a little bit. We lowered the saturation to 40, to minus 40, because, again, you're talking grim and gritty and dark and all that, so you don't want really bright colors. You kind of can't help when the Joker has a lot of neon green unless you go in and do the green channel itself. But I thought about it, and that just doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as menacing. I kind of like the greens to be called out there. So there was that. Next was levels, where what levels does, and remember these are all adjustment layers, is it brings up the white, like the lighter areas, and it also brings up the darker areas. It kind of adds to the extremes a little bit. So if I were to go nuts on the black side, we'd get that, and if I were to go nuts on the white side, we'd get more of that. So I just made minor adjustments on both, just to give it a little tiny bit more punch on the lighter areas and the darker areas. But as you can see, not a whole lot in either one. Next up, I added a top light. Now the reason I did this was because I wanted to show Batman a little bit, and the light was coming from the top, and it didn't hit it as hard as I would have liked. All I did here, we'll do this here. You can see that selected area. I took the lasso tool, I set the feather to 255, and I just colored it in white, and I set the overlay to, let's see here, where, oh, I'm on the wrong layer. I set overlay at 100%. So that's what got me that look. That's just a white layer, or a white selection area using the feather that got me that look. So it's a little brighter, showing the lights. And then we added a little more darkness here, a little more overlay when it comes to just adding a gray color. And the gray color I added is down here. It's ones for the hexadecimal. Left that at overlay, and then just because I wanted to do the same thing and make things just a little less black, a little more gray, I added that same color in just a color fill layer. So you see now every step I used to get there. We had overlay on that one, we had lighten here, because what lighten will do, let me get rid of that selection, what lighten does in this color fill layer is it'll take everything that is darker than the selected color and make it that selected color. So when there's a lot of black, if you use a color that's a little lighter than black, suddenly black goes away and that color shows up instead. So that's pretty much it, folks. Nothing too crazy, but it definitely gives you that darker, Dark Knight style look. So again, here it is with the adjustments. There it is without the adjustments, just to give it a little more realistic, grim, and gritty touch. I'm Batman. And that's it for this one, folks. Comment below and let me know, is this video gonna help your action figure photos get a little more grim and gritty? As always, I'll leave product links in the video description below. Those are Amazon affiliate links, so if you click on those links, get anything at all on Amazon, I'll earn a commission on that, but it will be at no extra charge to you, which I dig that part. So as always, thank you for watching. Thanks for doing everything you do to help out the channel. And yes, just watching helps out the channel. Subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. And until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.